What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. On this video today, I'm just going to basically answer a query that was made by one of you subscribers and a few other comments that was made. I just wanted to address them and yeah, just give you a quick few tips on obviously having a Doberman or training them. Before I do so, I just wanted to mention 2 points. First of all, I wanted to mention about tucks. You know, my intentions was obviously to keep in touch with the guy who took tucks off me. I would have loved to obviously stayed in contact, and I was respectful enough to give him his time and his space. He told me to wait a couple of months before I can visit him, but unfortunately he's now gone off the grid. Even though he lives around the corner, I'm being respectful enough because at the end of the day he bought the dog off me. I know he's in a good home, I know he's in a good person, because there's a couple of my friends that wanted tucks, but I knew they wasn't the right people and I knew they wouldn't do what's best for him. But this individual, even though he wasn't my friend and he was just a friend of a friend, I knew he'd have a good home there. So that's a sacrifice I can make. It's sad because I would have loved to have done a reunion with him. I would have loved to obviously made a video of like my reunion with tucks, but it is what it is. I've got to respect them, I've got to give them their space, and if he's happy, he's happy. You've got to think about what's best for him, you know, like, because I didn't get to have tucks for long, you know, and unfortunately because of my own personal circumstances at home and the fact that I'm not stable enough to have a Doberman yet, well, any pet for that matter. The truth is, I don't want an animal to feel neglected. I don't see them as just animals. At the end of the day, they're part of your family, and it's like the fact that I had a child and she's only 1 year old, I'm trying to be the best father that I can be. So I don't want to have like animals in the equation and then they're being neglected. Does that make sense? So until I'm set, until I'm ready, it's like, well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Somebody mentioned to me recently on through this Doberman community, they said to me that it's not about you just being ready to get a dog, to get a Doberman, whether it's a Doberman or any other dog. It doesn't matter if you're ready personally. The whole family has to be ready as well. So if everyone's not on board, then don't bother just getting a dog for the sake of it. Make sure everyone's ready for it, because at the end of the day, you're bringing someone into your family. Okay, so that's my first point I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to say is, as you guys can see, and some of you loyal subscribers that have been here since day one, this channel is growing on its own. I'm not trying to make it grow, I'm not doing anything specifically to make it grow, I'm not promoting it, I'm not advertising it. But as you can see, it's naturally growing on its own. And as the channel's growing, as the supporters are growing, so are the critics, the naysayers, and you know, the haters. So I've been having a few comments recently. I've had people jump into assumptions and conclusions and making comments so eagerly. But you need to understand, naysayers and critics out there, before you start commenting on these current videos and the latest videos, go back to the original videos, go and watch from the beginning, watch the journey. As I've mentioned from the beginning, I'm not a professional, I'm not an expert in dog training, I don't get paid for this. People are not paying me to train their dogs. I'm not paying people to train their dogs. I'm a first-time dog owner. In fact, I didn't even have my dog for long enough. Yeah, I had him for a significant amount of time, almost a year. But I'm just an ordinary guy. And coming from my background, where I've never been raised with dogs, I've come from an Asian Muslim household where there's a lot of stigma and there's a lot of stigma around raising dogs, and there's conflicting opinions between culture and religion about raising dogs and the rest of it. I'm not going to start getting into all them details right now, but I've grown up without dogs in my life, and the fact that I raised tucks on my own, you know, I wanted a dog for a long time. For 10 years, I wanted a dog. Obviously, my parents didn't allow it, but I wasn't going to just go behind their back and get one, because at the end of the day, I was under their roof. But now I was under my own roof, I tried it. I was too passionate, I was too eager. Obviously, I rushed into it too eagerly. Hence the reason why obviously I had to get rehomed, sadly. But my point is, I raised that dog on my own. I trained him myself. Yeah, I took him to one or two sessions like bike training or whatever, swimming. But all the basic obedience I did myself. I did a lot of research. I sought advice from other people. I watched other people. I was open to learning from other people. I wasn't out here being a critic and, you know, start giving it the big talk about, oh yeah, dogs come from wolves and this, that, and the other. No, I wasn't interested in that. The way I seen it is, Tux was part of my family, and even though he was an animal, he was a highly intelligent animal that knew right from wrong. He knew how to listen, and he knew how not to listen. So I worked with that. Do you understand? It's like raising a child. This gets me into the main section of this video. So I was asked. Sorry, let me just get this comment back up. So let me address this comment first. Somebody at the bottom put, you have super Dobies. Like I've mentioned, Shadow isn't my dog. Shadow is a friend's dog. This friend of mine, Vicky, she's the one who introduced me to the man who's bought tucks. I know her from the local area. She lives near my parents' home. At the moment, currently, she's wanting me to help out with Shadow, as in his lead training, his basic obedience, etc. So I'm just doing it as a favor, as a friend. Plus, it keeps my bond with the dog. You know, like, it keeps my heart satisfied. The fact that I've not got Tux now, sometimes I feel a bit like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I feel sad. I feel like there's something missing out of my life. So it's nice for me as well as it is for her. So we're benefiting each other. Somebody put on here a comment, brother, you need a lot of help. Please work with a professional or read some literature before trying to train again. I commented back on this video and I told him to watch my other videos, etc. He wasn't being rude, which he addressed, and I appreciate that. But it's the problem with miscommunication over text. But this is a perfect example. He was quick to assume things by watching that video with Shadow. Don't be so hasty to go and comment and you know, like, just make comments on people's content, etc. Like, at least go and see the history. Go and get it's like when they say, don't judge a book by its cover. That's a perfect example. You're judging a book by its cover. Go and look at the history. Go and look what I did with Tux. I've proven it. I literally set a good example with that dog. Right, here we go. This is the comment that's obviously inspired me to make this video. Somebody said, I have a 17-week-old. It is my third Doberman, but I am trying to train him better than my first two. What can I actually expect him to be able to do? He loves to jump up still, and when he doesn't want to do something, he either bites the leash or tries to nip at me. I've tried many methods. He's not aggressive at all, just defiant. So first of all, I just want you to know that obviously this is a completely external opinion and I'm not being biased or anything. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I completely understand where you're coming from. I had those issues with Tux at times, and I'll tell you what it is. It's basic obedience. Now, before I start getting into the details of how to actually get your dog to listen, get your dog to understand you, and obviously when you say to stop, not to buy everything, etc. First of all, you need to ask yourself, why have you got this dog? What's your intentions for having a Doberman? This is one thing that you need to establish before you even start getting into training, or where the dog, what your relationship is with the dog, or even when you get the dog, what's your intentions? Like, a lot of people get the dog just for the show of it. People get it to breed and make money. People get it because it looks cool. People get it as guard dogs. People get it as protection dogs or family pets. Whatever your reason is, first you need to question your reasons why. Why have you got the dog? Why do you want a Doberman? Now, it's useful and it's helpful to do a lot of research on the breed before you get it, but I'm telling you, the most beneficial thing that you can do before you get the breed is ask people who have actually got a Doberman. Ask them their experience with it, with the breed, and don't just go to one or two people. Get a variety of different opinions, because everyone's going to have their own experience. People have different lifestyles. People have the dogs for different reasons. You're not going to relate to one person in particular. You might relate to certain aspects of their experience, but you're best off asking a variety of different people. Do you understand? So first of all, understand the reasons why you've got the breed. Now, this leads me to my second point. The Doberman, as beautiful as it is, at the end of the day, it's a working dog. Do you understand? It's a working dog. It was bred to work. It's a highly driven dog, and it's got a lot of energy. So I'm not saying you can't have the dog as a pet. Like, personally, like, my intentions at first was to have Tux as a guard dog, have him as a protection dog. But naturally, when he bonds with the family and you get close to him, he naturally becomes a pet. You naturally start to grow love for him. You understand? So my intentions, this is the perfect example. My intentions was not to have him as a pet, but naturally he grew on me and he became part of the family, became part, I don't want to call him a pet, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like he became part of me. I was spending more time with him than I was spending more time with my own missus and my own daughter. Do you understand? Which wasn't good, by the way. My point is, if you have the dog as a pet, purely as a pet, you need to understand two things. One, you don't have to get him into protection training and doing all this extra business, but you do have to establish basic obedience. And it's never too late. A lot of people say it's better to do it whilst the dog's young, whilst they're a puppy. It's easier to get them to, you know, like, establish, to learn and pick up things. Obviously, as they get older, they get more stubborn, just like humans. But it's never too late. You can still do it. You just have to find the right methods. So first, it's the basic obedience. Secondly, if you have the dog as a pet and you don't want them to work, you need to understand that you have to give them enough playtime. You need to take them out. You need to burn their energy out. The Doberman's classed as a Velcro dog. Do you understand? If they're classed as a Velcro dog, he wants to be stuck right by your side. So it doesn't matter if you just leave them in the back garden to play on their own or with other dogs. You need to give them time. So if you're not going to train them, if you're not going to work with them, take them to extra lessons or whatever, get them to do protection work, make sure you give them enough playtime. Make sure you give them enough time to burn their energy. Do you understand? So that's two things I wanted to mention. What is the intention behind having the dog? And secondly, whether it's to have them as a pet or a working dog, you need to establish basic obedience regardless of what your intentions is for having the dog. Now with basic obedience, as you can see from my own experience with Tux, if you go through my previous videos you'll find a couple. With the basic obedience, you don't need a professional to come along. You don't have to start coughing up £800, £900. Like, no disrespect to you trainers out there, obviously you guys can establish this training a lot quicker than like maybe someone like myself or other people can do. And sometimes people just don't have the time or the capacity or the patience to actually train their dog themselves, so they would rather go to a professional trainer, which in some cases fair play, that it works for some people and for some people it doesn't. But what about for people that don't have the money? What about for people that want to do the training themselves because they want to improve their relationship with their dog, they want to bond with their dog? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And some people just want to do it for the fun. So this is what I'm trying to address. Like, personally, I was able to do that. Because I was excited. Personally, I just wanted to, like, I've got that characteristics of wanting to be a leader. When I want to do something, when I fix my mind into something, I want to do it. And when I got Tux, obviously I was excited, I was eager. Personally, when I can't accomplish something, it irritates me, so I'll be persistent enough and I'll keep trying until I do it. Hence the reason why I personally train Tux myself. Now, what my advice to you is, if you're going to try and do the training yourself, you need to understand something. They say, like, you've got to be consistent and you've got to be patient. These two come hand in hand with each other. You can't be consistent if you're not going to be patient. If you're like being patient, but then all of a sudden one day you snap, you're giving the dog the wrong cue. At the end of the day, these animals, the Doberman especially, they go off your emotions. They can, I don't know, I felt like Tux was able to read my facial expressions. He was able to feel my emotions. When I was sad, he'd come closer to me with his head down and look into my eyes. It was strange, man. These dogs are very, very intelligent. Like, when I was happy and excited, he knew. His little stump used to waggle so much and he wanted to go out and play. He became more playful. When he knew I was being serious, that's when he was like a little boy who thought he might get into trouble, treading on eggshells. They're very, very intelligent. They go off your emotions. So whether they can speak English or not, whether you can communicate like that, these animals understand your energy, they understand your vibe. So what I'm saying to you is, if you want to establish basic obedience, make sure you're consistent with it, make sure you're patient. You can't just expect it to happen overnight. And all dogs are different, just like all humans. What might work for one might not work for another. Do you get where I'm coming from? You can't just think, oh yeah, treat. You can't just think, oh yeah, let me get a shock collar and just tug them. A prong collar and tug them, or get a shock collar and start zapping at them. I don't agree with that. Now, like, don't get me wrong, I did use them tools, but that's what they are. They're tools. They're not forms of punishment. If you're going to get a prong collar to start stinging your dog, then I think that's kind of cruel. Like, I don't want my dog just to be all militant mode and, like all protection mode and always highly, not just aggressive, but, like on edge. Some people it works for that. Your intentions is different. Like I said, everyone's different. You might want your dog to be guarding other dogs. Or you might want your Doberman to be guarding your home. You might have fully grown up kids. You might be established. It's different for everyone. Do you understand? For me personally, I wanted Tux to naturally guard, but to be loving and comforting as well, which he was. But yeah, and if going back to the prong collar, don't get things like prong collars, e-collars, shock collars and stuff. If you're going to just start abusing the animal, it's not right. They're not going to learn. It's like a child. Like, when you're raising children, if you're going to constantly just discipline them and tell them off, yeah, you might win on the short term and win the battle, but on the long term, you're making that child like internally rebellious. When they grow up, they're going to not respect you as much. Do you understand? So it's the same with the animals. It's the same with the dogs. So you got to understand that, like, if you don't establish a good relationship with your Doberman, then they're not going to listen to you. You've got to have that level of respect. So what I did with Tux and what I'm doing now with Shadow, and I've been out with him twice I think so far, but what I do is, like, to build their respect and to make them like me, I've got to give them some before I get some, because at the end of the day, I'm the adult, I'm the human, I'm the leader. And so it's like, I let him have his little bit first. So if he wants to go and sniff at them bushes, if he wants to go and explore them woods, I'll follow him. I'll go with him. I'll let him do what he wants to do. I'll let him enjoy himself in order for him to respect me after. Do you understand? I can't expect him to just do everything I'm telling him to do straight away from the get-go. It's like, it goes back to the leader and the boss, because it's going to make him look at me like a boss. I might start shocking him on the e-collar or pulling the prong and, like forcing him to be at the side of me and forcing him to sit down and forcing him to listen. I don't want to force him. I want him to do it because he wants to do it, because he loves me, because he's inspired by me. Do you understand? So that's why I give him a little bit, and then I'll ask for something in return. So going to the basic obedience and the training, the methods that I tend to use is, like I said, I let them have their free time, I let them have their playtime first. A lot of trainers won't advise that. They'll tell you not to give them the free time too much, etc. But clearly it worked for me. Imagine I had him longer. Imagine how much more I would have taught him. How did I manage to do that? Because I gave him his free time. Not only did I let him enjoy his free time, I enjoyed it with him. I got involved. I played with him. I followed him into the woods. I followed him chasing squirrels. I didn't just shout at him. I laughed along with him. So allow the dog to be a dog. It's like having a child. Allow the child to explore. Allow them to play. Obviously, if they're gonna hurt themselves or something, then obviously you stop it. That's different. But what I'm saying is, you need to win them over first. Gain their trust, gain their love, and then when you start introducing these basic obedience, don't just expect to see results straight away. One thing the dog might pick up on quick, another thing they might not. You have to give it time, but don't give up. If you start giving up, if you start giving in, then you're not gonna get what you desire. Obviously, if you want them to stop, like for example, one tip that I'll give you is, start very, very small. Don't expect them to start sitting and doing things straight away. What I started doing is, because I knew the dog wants to go and explore, wants to run off, like in an outside setting, for example. If they want to keep going exploring or going over there, I'll teach them go first, or like the command to like release them, the free, like, so go or free time or whatever you want to use as your command. But for me personally, I teach them go first, and then I'll teach them to come back. So I want them to know go and come first, so they know how to, so what do you call it, recall. So a basic recall, I start working on that first, and then climbing on top of things, jumping up, like when they're climbing on top of people, or and they're climbing on other things, you don't want them to get up. So what I did with Tux is, when he was in the flat and he used to start climbing on top of the couch and we didn't want him to, when he'd do it, I'd say up, and then when I'd say come here, and I'll lure him down by getting a treat or something, or just getting all playful mode, and I'd say down or off, and then he'd get off, and then I'd start praising him. When he does something that you want him to do, whether it's intentional or unintentional, you've got to be smart about it. Like, you've got to use your brain and be smart about it. So if he's doing something that you don't like, for example, I don't want him to climb on the couch, but when he's done it or whilst he's doing it, I'll pretend I've gave him the command to get up. So then I'll say, yeah, up, and then he'll get up, and I'll praise him like, yeah, good boy, and start hugging him and patting him and the rest of it. Because when you praise them, they recognize that energy, they like it, they feel like they're bonding with you, so they associate that word, that command, to that behavior. So that's the way you got to work on it. You've got to be patient with it, give it time. Like, for example, if I'm calling him over and he's not coming, I'm not going to just keep saying it and wearing it out, because it's going to wear the command out, and he's not going to respect it. He's just going to think I'm going on with myself, and I'm going to start getting impatient and stressed out and the rest of it. So if he doesn't listen first couple of times, I'll leave him to it. But when he starts coming back to me on his own card, I'll be like, come here. When he sits down, I'll start praising the life out of him and getting all excited, and then I'll treat him. So then he associates that good behavior. He associates that good response to that behavior. So to sum it all up, guys, don't expect your dog to just listen to you if you're not going to establish basic obedience. Make sure you work on your basic obedience regardless of what your intentions are, whether it's a pet or a guard dog or whatever you got it for. Make sure you establish basic obedience, because when I get my next dog, God willing, when I'm established, when I'm settled, ironically, I'm going to probably end up calling him Tux, because obviously I didn't get to enjoy Tux for long enough, the name anyway. And I'm inspired, and I want to dedicate it to Tux. But when I eventually get my next dog, I'm going to be doing everything all over again. Like I'm working on with Shadow now, I'm doing the same stuff. So just know that whether it's a guard dog or a pet or like just a companion, just establish your basic obedience, because in some settings you're going to need it. If they're going to run out onto a road, if they see other dogs, if they get provoked by something, you need that basic obedience for that dog to recognize you as a leader. But just to finish off, I'm just going to say a few things. Obviously, like on the last video that I posted with Shadow, I had, I think, a couple of comments where in 1.5 months you went from not being ready to completely ready for this dog again. And then someone else said about, are you planning to keep him for the dog's sake? I hope you really don't. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know if you're just clicking away through this video or you're just skipping bits and just hearing what you want to hear. But I blatantly said in that video that the dog wasn't mine. So let me just express something here in this video. I know a lot of you guys are not going to listen to the words I'm saying in detail, and you're going to just pick out what you want to hear. In that case, go and focus on something else. If you're not going to listen to what I'm saying in detail, if you're not going to hear me out properly and you're just going to judge, then jog on. I don't really care about your opinion. And normally I don't address negative feedback because I've got other things going on for me. And to be honest, there's a lot more supporters on this channel, a lot more love than there is haters. So if you're going to sit there just hating, please go and just focus on your own life, because like I said, I'm just sharing my journey with this community. I'm just sharing my experience and what's worked for me. At least I'm real and at least I'm honest. A lot of people out there, even on videos on YouTube, they make it look like it's easy, or some people make it look like it's hell. I'm being realistic. That's the difference. I'm showing you what I'm doing, raw and real. I'm not faking it. I'm not pretending that everything's smooth as pie. I'm not pretending that I'm the best leader in the world and I'm professionally training these dogs, etc. No, I'm not. I'm being real with it. So if you're not going to appreciate the fact that I'm being real and honest, then please just get off my videos and go and watch someone else's content, because I really don't care. Anyways, I don't want to end this obviously negatively. So for you supporters out there, and for the love that you guys have been showing me, I really appreciate it. And some of you loyal subscribers that are still here on this channel, I really appreciate it. And I promise that I'll do my best to create more content and more valuable content. And when I get my next dog, I'll be sure to share that journey with you guys. Anyways, as always guys, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate your time and the support that you guys have been showing. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for any future notifications, and leave a thumbs up. And until next time guys, peace out.